Welcome to this Tutor to You sociology topic video on gender differences in education, looking at the crisis of masculinity. The crisis of masculinity with reference to education is an external factor that influences the achievement of boys in education. It's a term used to explain the reaction of males to the rapid social changes in the latter part of the 20th century. Mack and Ghaill suggested that one of the reasons for these changes was the widespread decline of traditional male working class jobs, as the process of globalisation led to heavy-duty manufacturing moving from the UK to lower-wage economies around the world. For working-class males, these industries provided almost guaranteed employment and a stable future. But as factories were closed down and moved across the globe, this changed the job market in the UK. A growth of service sector jobs that were stereotypically seen as being more feminine, alongside the rise of feminism and increased opportunities for female employment, meant that males faced more competition for work. This led to a lack of motivation and an erosion of their self-esteem that was formerly associated with being a breadwinner, and they looked for status elsewhere, from other activities. The crisis of masculinity has many synoptic links in sociology, offering explanations for increased crime, changing attitudes to family life, and the impacts of media, so it's an area of great interest for social scientists. But how does it impact on education? Well, theorists have suggested that the crisis of masculinity has led many males to resort to adopting hegemonic masculine traits. Toughness, physical prowess, and the rejection of the feminine help males to obtain status through being seen as alpha males. This extends to the rejection of education, which, as female achievement in education has increased, has become more associated with the feminine domain. This leads boys to reject school and gravitate towards laddish and anti-school subcultures in order to obtain status. This subsequently results in underachievement as they reject the values of school in favour of subcultural values of their peer groups. Jackson suggests that this is not just restricted to the working class, however, with many working class males adopting a form of hegemonic masculinity as well. This can be possibly seen as being most evident in the American kind of frat boy cultures, lifestyles that are centred on sports and sexual conquests and excessive drinking. The crisis of masculinity is supported by the underachievement of males in comparison to their female counterparts in all social classes and across all ethnic groups. This is not to say that all boys underachieve. Middle-class males may engage in masculine behaviours, but still have the economic, social and cultural capital within their families to succeed by putting in extra work, having access to additional resources, and being presented with opportunities that working-class males will not. Furthermore, they're less likely to have been occupied in the traditional male jobs that have disappeared. They're more likely to have gone into things like law and business and medicine. Francis suggests that one of the reasons why males have adopted these hegemonic masculine identities is as a result of the rise of feminism and the increase of political correctness in society. She sees it as being typified by the laddish subcultures in the media of the late 20th century. Males, being unable to adapt to changes, reverted to exaggerated versions of themselves, which inevitably will cause clashes with the education system. Similarly, Ward, in his study of working class males, have found that whilst males will adopt some stereotypical behaviours, there were some that didn't. The geeks in his study had adapted better to changes in society than the boys, with the geeks choosing hobbies such as comic books, sci-fi films, novels and gaming rather than behaviours that clashed with education. The boys, on the other hand, adopted macho attitudes in order to assert their masculinity, and it can be argued by Ward's research that the crisis of masculinity can be interpreted quite subjectively, with some boys adapting better than others. Educational policy has tried to address the crisis of masculinity through tackling the underachievement of boys in education. While not looking at the psychological and social impacts on boys, it instead has focused on practical solutions to improve boys' achievement. One argument that has been presented is that education has become too feminine and doesn't address boys' learning styles or skills. Initiatives such as Raising Boys' Achievement suggested that a combination of literacy programs and teaching methods could enable boys to engage more in education. While in the early years foundation stages, the introduction of forest schools to help boys learn through exploring nature was set up to tackle lower entry levels of boys into primary school. Other changes focused on outcomes saw the restructure of GCSEs and A-Levels, replacing modular examinations and coursework with linear, high-stakes exams that were thought to favour boys. However, critics would suggest that over the past 9 years, with working-class boys being more likely to struggle in education, little attention has been paid to addressing the psychological and social impacts of male underachievement. One evaluation of the crisis of masculinity is the extent to which it is researched and studied throughout the social sciences. The crisis of masculinity extends beyond education and can be evidenced in increasing incidences of mental health problems for males and the emergence of toxic masculinity as a study. Research by Epstein and Willis have both examined the futility that working class males feel within education and the toxic nature of peer group interactions for those who choose to pursue education. We can also develop links between the work on the crisis of masculinity and the family, with a change in nature of gender socialisation for girls increasing their opportunities, but failures in male gender socialisation leading to boys being poorly equipped for life in the 21st century. We can see a synoptic link here with Gershny's idea of lagged adaptation, which, while it was focused on family life, can be applied to gender differences in education. The crisis of masculinity can be said to have been caused by males not adapting as quickly as females to the changes that occurred in the education system in the late 20th and early 21st century. That concludes this Tutor to You Sociology topic video on gender in education, examining the crisis of masculinity. Thanks for watching.